She's a word sculptor, not a wordsmither. Very different. Episode 76, y'all. Carla Bass, Air Force Colonel, took the worst
squadron
and made it the #1
squadron in the state.
How is that possible? Yeah, it totally happened. She also was able to get the Joint Chiefs of Staff, right, to come to her gala, her ball that she held, through writing. She's doing workshops. She's teaching businesses how to make more cheddar. She's teaching you how to make more cheddar and get promoted through writing. Carla has a whole lot of ways to make extra cheddar. Make sure you sit back and relax this episode. You're about to learn a lot. Enjoy it. Peace. Let's turn to the one and only Carla D.E.E. Bass. Working with generals, ambassadors, Congress, foreign officials. The coolest thing I saw when I was reading up on you was you were first lieutenant, which I don't even know what that means. It just sounds gangster.
It's the second rank in the Air Force, so it basically translates to a very junior officer. I think I was 22, 23. The normal age for being a first lieutenant. When you come out of college, you're commissioned as a second lieutenant.
Okay.
That's baby. Next level up is first lieutenant.
And then you said that's the second rank?
So second lieutenant is when you come out as an officer. First lieutenant, you get promoted from second lieutenant to first lieutenant.
Understood.
And then captain is next.
And so you were a captain for some time?
You're captain for back in those days, you were a captain for 4 years.
What is it now? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. And then from captain, what's thereafter?
Then it depends. Then it's completely merit based. So second lieutenant 2 years, first lieutenant 2 years, captain 4 years. Although a captain, if you're excelling, you could actually get promoted early to major. So I was fortunate. I was an early promotee to major. Made it 2 years early.
Okay.
So from captain on up, there are the usual window for promotion. A couple of, there's stipulated years. By X number of years, you ought to be promoted. If not, then you're not doing something right.
Question marks, right? Mm-hmm. So then from major...
From major to lieutenant colonel to colonel, and that's where I topped out.
Wow. And they started asking questions about, like, why isn't she going beyond colonel? What is wrong with Carla?
Actually, at that point in time, they had stopped promoting intel colonels to intel generals. So my entire generation of all of my colleagues who are intel colonels, I think maybe one or two of us out of the crowd actually made generals. So that just didn't. That's just how the cards fell for my generation of Air Force intel colonel, and that's okay. I mean,
well, you can't have everyone be a general. It doesn't make any sense, right?
Exactly. So I'm just thrilled that I made it as far as I did. And what I really wanted to do from the very beginning, I wanted to bring the Eagles. Eagles is the rank for Air Force colonel. I wanted to bring the Eagles home to my dad. That's what I wanted to do.
Wait, what does that mean?
It means my father retired as an Air Force colonel. I wanted to make that rank so I could come back to Dad and say, your daughter is now an Air Force colonel.
That's pretty amazing.
Right? And just a real quickie, when that happened, he had a stroke, a bad stroke. So he was in the Veterans Hospital, the VA hospital in Marion, Indiana. My tribute to the Veterans Hospital in Marion, Indiana.
Amen.
At that point, he couldn't speak too well. It was a bad stroke. So the speech therapist there spent 6 months working with him so that he could utter the words and swear me in. There's an oath of office that you take when you get promoted. So 6 months of speech therapy they gave him so he could swear me in. The VA hospital there through a promotion ceremony with the prayer and the cake and a scrapbook, a huge to-do. They brought in the local press, and so there was the photograph of my father in the wheelchair. They had dressed him up in his uniform, and he very haltingly uttered the oath of office for me, and so that's
swearing you into what?
Accepting the rank of colonel.
Is that right?
Yep. So it was Colonel Bass swearing in his daughter as Colonel Bass, courtesy of the VA hospital in Marion, Indiana.
Wow. That is an amazing story.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't believe. And was he able to communicate the words?
Yeah, he could.
Amazing.
It took six months of effort to do that, but at that point he was still there mentally, and he understood, and so I was able to bring that full circle. Colonel Bass comes home to Colonel Bass.
Amazing. That's an amazing story.
That was a very special moment.
Yeah. Has your father passed?
He has.
May he rest in peace.
Amen to that.
Yeah. And wow, what a beautiful, beautiful, despite the stroke, able to do that. Whew. So now I understand ranks and how ranks work. You know what? That reminded me of a story, actually. I'll do a quick one as well. So my father, may he rest in peace, he died earlier this year. I've taken over his restaurant, and I own it now. And there's something in the restaurant I stumbled upon. It's an American flag in a triangular wood frame. Mm-hmm. Okay? And there's a little placard on it, or a plaque, and it says... to Sudki Abdullah, my father. Mm-hmm. And it says, know that this flag was flown over the United States in your honor, in Sudki Abdullah's honor.
Nice.
Know that the United States Air Force is watching over you the way you're watching over my daughter, Caitlin. Caitlin, his daughter, was an employee at my father's restaurant, and she kind of saw him as like her dad, but in Chicago. So he wrote, know that you're being watched over and protected over, you watched over the United States the way you're watching over my daughter, Caitlin. Thank you. And then it said Captain Keith. I forget his last name now.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing when you said it flew over the U.S., they usually fly them over the U.S. Capitol building.
Ah, maybe. Okay.
Yep. Oh,
okay.
That's wonderful. It was very kind of the captain to do that for your dad, and good on your dad for watching over the daughter.
Isn't that something?
That's a good story.
It's a beautiful story.
Yep.
Wonderful stories. Wonderful stories. So, okay. So, so now one thing I noticed also was you would compose and present daily briefings to the director of the NSA.
Yep.
So this is the person who is basically the chief executive of the National Security Agency, and this is where I'm starting to see maybe some of your writing came into play a little bit.
Well, it did, and so from my earliest days, again, you were only 22, 23-ish when you were a first lieutenant. I was writing the briefings and delivering them as in actually vocalizing it the following morning to the director of the National Security Agency. And so when you're addressing an audience of that magnitude, of that rank, you truly have to know how to make every single word count. And every second has to say something. So I learned from the earliest days of how to leverage time and space to be able to communicate at that level.
I get time because you're saying I can't waste a second. Every word has to really mean something. Mm-hmm. I don't know what you mean by leveraging space.
Okay, space. So I describe this. If you can imagine now a white rectangle. Okay, so every writer, no matter what you're composing, you're constricted by time and space. Time, tick, tick, I'm busy. The general's busy. You're busy. And space is if you're having to write like above the fold on a web page, or if there's a form that you're filling out and there's actually a demarcated space on the form where you have only that space in which to make your case, or if you're writing a grant and you have 5 pages tops to present your position, or describe your article in 130 characters, including spaces. All of that is when I say space. So the person who leverages time and the physical space in order to convey your message usually wins. And in order to do that well, you need to know how to write to influence. And so that's where my writing methodology and my word sculpting techniques come in.
Word sculpting techniques. You're not even saying wordsmith. You're using word sculpt.
Sculpting.
What is the difference between word sculpting versus wordsmithing?
Complete difference. Complete
Teach me.
difference. Okay. So imagine right now that you are a sculptor. So you're sitting in Paris, you've got the beret and the
Michelangelo.
Exactly.
Boom.
And in front of you, you're facing an 8-foot block of granite.
Yes.
Because you are a master sculptor, you know the image that lies dormant in that granite. So you take out your tools and chisel, and poop, you got all the rubble on the ground, and there's your statue. Word sculpting is the same thing. Except instead of having a block of marble, you have your first draft. So part 2 of my book, Right to Influence, I have 10 word sculpting techniques where you go sentence by sentence, and some of them are useless words. You identify the useless words that contribute nothing to the sentence, words that hog space, where you combine 3 or 4 words into one, or if you're space constrained, you learn how to use shorter words instead of the longer words. Find and expunge redundancy. So there's 10 word sculpting tools that I provide, and that's how you take your draft and you hone it into that hard-hitting, concise message. But these are what I didn't know. I mean, I was writing like that, but I didn't know that I was writing like that in the early days.
Right. You were kind of doing it intuitively, instinctively, learning along the way.
Just because it was in me. It was a gift. It was in me. So, I'd mentioned leading into your business meeting that writing is a fundamental, I didn't say that. Fundamental leadership skill. Here's how that came to pass. When I was a lieutenant colonel, I was a squadron commander. What that means is I was in charge of a unit that had 480 really talented young men and women. This was in Hawaii.
In Hawaii?
In Hawaii.
And was this all intelligence? Squadron of intelligence?
It was the 324th Intelligence Squadron.
By the way, when we say intelligence, can I picture a room like NASA or these military rooms where a bunch of people are sitting in front of computers, rows and rows of people? And they're all...
it can vary. I mean, it could be that
cubicles.
Or just... What?
It could be cubicles?
Yeah, just, office. It's a business.
Okay.
Anyway, so when I got to the 324th, I discovered it was the most losing unit in the whole island for statewide quarterly and annual professional awards. These were the awards that were really important for the bullets for performance reports and getting promoted. And I had the unit that was just a joke. Because they lost all the time. They gave you the dead last. They lost all the time. And what I discovered...
By the way, what's an example of one of the awards you could win that helps us understand? Like, what were they competing?
Think ranking, junior officer of the quarter, airman of the quarter, sergeant of the quarter.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
And these are all these not sports awards. These were all based on the merits of how you performed for that particular time period.
Yes.
Okay. So what I learned is it's not that my guys didn't deserve to win because they were talented folks. The problem was one level up, their bosses couldn't write. So you could be the best staff sergeant that God ever invented, but because somebody couldn't write your accomplishments,
the sergeant's boss,
you lose.
Yeah.
Okay. All because somebody didn't know how to write.
Wow.
So I took 3 days personal time, sequestered myself in a beach cabin, and I analyzed my writing. So I asked myself, Carla, what?
This is when you took over the squadron?
Yep.
You started actually studying your writing?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
So I took the 3 days, and I asked, okay, so Carla, you do something that works, because whenever I wrote packages in my previous assignment, my guys always won. So it's, what do you do, and how do you do it, and how do you teach other people? So out of that 3 days came my word sculpting techniques. So I turned that into a 20-page, really rough handbook, and I gave it to everybody. And the first person to whom I handed it, I saw him put a cup of coffee on it. I thought, well, crap.
Coaster.
That's not going to work. So I turned it into a 1-hour workshop, and I taught them how to write. And all of a sudden, we started sweeping the awards.
Is that right?
Yeah. I've got a picture. I took a picture all those years ago of the first time. There was a huge billboard at Hickam Air Force Base that would announce who the winners were. 324th, 324th, 324th. We swept them.
From last to first.
From last to first. And we became the unit to beat because I taught them how to write.
Would they... But would... meaning you teach the bosses
Mm-hmm.
of them how to write so that they can have a chance at winning this because they were good.
So they could tell the stories of their
Right.
wonderful subordinates in
Wow.
a way. So you structure their message, you figure out how to add the detail, and how to bring tears to the reader's eyes. And it's all about knowing how to frame and how to convey the message. So I ended up teaching my technique in the Air Force for the next 15 years to thousands of people because I had no idea how vacuous the need was. And that was I retired in 2006, and that was before Twitter and Facebook and the academic systems now some time ago actually stopped teaching people how to write really
Wow.
well. So the need now is more demanding,
Than ever before.
ubiquitous than it was back then. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
I see.
And the lesson I learned out of all that, my battle cry, is that powerful writing changes lives.
Wow.
Because it does.
Wow. You really believe that?
I do.
I can see it in your eyes.
It opens doors to opportunity. You could be the best, but if your resume is better, somebody else's resume
gets
is
hired,
better,
right.
he gets hired. You don't.
Right.
Sucks to be you, and
Right.
it sucks to be the company that was hiring because you would have been the better choice.
Right. Sucks to be the company too. Right. They got the
Exactly.
second choice.
So I teach people I empower them actually by leveraging their own words to open doors to opportunity. And all of that is why powerful writing is a fundamental leadership skill. Because if you can't make a case to keep your budget from getting cut, to making a case for, hey, I've got this new mission, I want more resources, and here's why you need to give me more resources, expanding your empire, promoting the right people, putting out the ads and so forth, marketing the company so that you attract the talented people. If you can't make a case for all of those things, you handicap yourself just because you can't write well.
Are there instances where that powerful tool can actually be used in a manipulative way? Meaning someone learns to powerfully write, and they're the most convincing, yet, well, I guess this is what we're saying. Like, my worry is this, that someone writes their way into a job. They don't actually deserve that job. How would you respond to that?
I guess the answer is yes. I mean, you see people padding resumes all the time.
Right.
So it's up to the reader, the interviewer, the company to
Determine whether that's the truth or not.
Yeah,
So we're differentiating. Thank you. So we're differentiating awesome, powerful writing versus dishonest writing.
What?
Meaning you can have powerful dishonest writing, and that is now a moral issue that needs to be snuffed out by someone.
So when I teach people, here's how you write powerful input for your own performance report, or when you're writing a performance report on one of your subordinates, I teach you how to write powerfully, but that presumes that you're going to write honestly. So I say, no fair taking a mediocre performance and applying all of my writing techniques to exaggerate it to something that it shouldn't be.
Okay.
All right? That's no fair.
Meaning, if there is a mediocre performance, I'll teach you how to write specifically about that mediocre performance.
Yes, so that you frame it as it really is, as opposed to taking a mediocre performance and applying my writing methodologies, and all of a sudden that's a stellar performer. That's a foul.
Right. Okay, got it. Clear. All right. So, and just to go back now, actually, you said you taught this in the Air Force in many ways. Were you able to come in contact at your level with some high, very senior level foreign officials or even presidents of our country or whatnot to express how important this is? Because something tells me you were the only one in the Air Force, maybe even military, making this your battle cry.
The answer is no. Everybody recognizes the need and the value of writing powerfully. To my knowledge, I'm the only person that's out there teaching this. When I was in the final manuscript stages of the first edition of the book, 2016, 2017, I did all sorts of market research, Barnes and Nobles and all of that stuff to find out, to determine if there was anything else like it on the market. The answer is no. Several other books will give a tangential mention of stuff like useless words with a paragraph or two, or redundancy with a paragraph or two.
Not a whole chapter.
Not a whole chapter, not the exercises, and not the writing strategies that I bring to bear. I mean, this is 40 years of crafting stuff for Congress and the White House, and how I do it, and how you recognize that you need to put the most important information up front. Why? Because knock, 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 I'm busy. So many people now bury the most important part in the third or fourth paragraph with all this preliminary was. You've lost the reader.
Yes.
All right, your communication is dead on arrival.
Wow.
So you start off with, if you only have, a good way to think of it, if you have a 30-minute presentation for somebody and all of a sudden that person's time gets cut and you're now down to 3 minutes, what's the most important part of that 30 minutes you're going to present? You got 3 minutes now. So with that mentality, that's how you triage the information, that you put the important stuff up front, and then you follow it with the lesser information. People don't write that way.
No, they meander.
They do.
Yeah.
And everybody's busy.
I'm dying. I got to ask this question. So, like, with a lot of the prominent names we've seen in the press the last 25, 50 years, or I guess since your career, 30 years, have you been able to rub shoulders or meet prominent people? Do you have any cool stories around that?
Prominent people. Well,
presidents and foreign officials and
no, not presidents. I wasn't that high. I was the defense attaché to Bulgaria at one point. That was pretty cool. I mean, the prime minister of Bulgaria knew me by my first name, which is really neat. But a lot of that had to do with the position. So you learn to keep ego. It wasn't because, hey, I'm Carla. It's because I happen to be the U.S. defense attaché to Bulgaria, which for your listeners means I was America's senior most military representative to Bulgaria, which was amazing. Also the first woman to hold that position.
Amazing.
Maybe the only woman at this point.
That's right.
But
that's right. Wow. So your role in that was to share intelligence with the Prime Minister of Bulgaria?
No, my role was to represent American military forces to Bulgaria. So, for example, we had military-to-military exercises, American forces training alongside Bulgarian forces. So my office was responsible for doing that. So it was a military interface.
Got it. A little different than intelligence, isn't it? Yeah, that's a bigger role.
Yep.
Cool. Cool. All right. So when I saw you and we booked and I was like, oh, okay, we're going to talk a lot about leadership and team. No man left behind kind of attitude, but it's like, we're talking about writing, and so that's amazing. And this 480 person battalion that went from last to first is a pretty cool story.
And I still get email from people. Colonel Bass, if it hadn't been for, I wouldn't have gotten the Congressional Fellowship, gotten into officer training school. And that's why I've got the testimonials about powerful writing changes lives. Received an email last year. Colonel Bass, you probably don't remember me. I was a senior airman, which is a junior enlisted person, in the 324th when you first developed this. I kept that handbook for 18 years. I wanted to let you know, because you taught me to write, I made it into officer training school. I retired after 20 years as an Air Force officer, and now I'm the vice president of a defense corporation because you taught me how to write.
Wow.
All right. That's what keeps me
huge.
going. That's what keeps me going.
That is amazing. I feel... Go ahead.
The book was just accepted into the Air Force Academy.
Oh,
last
nice.
week. It's in the writing centers. Like, huzzah!
That's right, baby.
More validation. I've got something, and it works.
And more cash in your pocket because I got to buy that book now.
And it works.
By the way, in case the plug. Let's get the plug out there. Where can people buy your book? Obviously,
Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. It's online. It's not in bookstores. It's online.
Okay.
My website is www.writetoinfluence.net. To the listeners, if you happen to get the book and you happen to like it, please underline exclamation point on my knees. I'm begging. Post a review on Amazon because that helps. You have no idea unless you're an author how much that helps.
Yes, it does. It does move you in the rankings in a huge way.
Oh, it does.
Okay. when you say powerful, what does that mean in this context?
It means making every single word count. Every single word has to help carry your message. If it doesn't, if you've encumbered it with other bureaucratic blather, it impedes,
loses power.
It impedes your message and it burdens the reader.
And so then the reader is unpersuaded.
Well, the reader gets tired from reading your rotten writing.
Right.
Okay, so let me give you some examples.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so verbs. I hit hard.
These are examples of powerful writing.
Verbs. This is one of my word sculpting techniques. Is verbs. Verbs are your friends. So imagine right now, seriously.
And verb sounds very active, which means which
It should
powerful.
be. It should be, but
Right.
but it's often not. Okay, so imagine a hard-boiled egg. Got it? Hard-boiled egg.
Got it.
Now make that hard-boiled egg 6 foot tall.
Damn.
Big hunker of a hard-boiled egg. Focus on the yolk.
Mm.
The yolk is the verb. The white stuff is the bureaucratic blather that we use to encumber the verb. This is what you don't need to do. So, for example, stop from happening. That's the whole egg. What you really need
Stop
to say
from
is,
happening?
Yep.
Oh, okay, got it.
What
Stop
you really
from
want
happening.
to say is preclude.
Okay.
All right. Take you up
So
on.
preclude would be the yolk.
The yolk.
Got
all
it.
right? Take you up on is all the white.
I'm going to take you up on that offer.
I'm
take
going
you
to
up
accept.
on. I accept that
is
offer.
the yolk.
Gotcha.
Okay? Would rather. I would rather. Okay? The yolk is prefer.
I prefer.
I prefer. Conduct a compilation of. Now your
Damn.
turn. What's the verb that's hiding in conduct a compilation of? I want you to conduct a compilation of. I want you to
Conduct.
To compile.
compile.
Boom.
Compile. And the last one for here is for the purpose of gaining.
For the purpose
Of gaining.
of gaining. So as an example, like we're buying this aircraft for the purpose of gaining power over Ukraine
or
Russia.
or your listeners listen for the purpose
of
of
gaining
gaining
knowledge.
information about business.
So-
Now,
Yeah.
shorten for the purpose of gaining. They listen
To acquire.
to
gain.
gain. They listen to
And gain, I mean, acquire is the same thing, but gain's even better because it's only one
It's
syllable.
shorter. Yep.
Wow.
All right. So again, with a hard-boiled egg, for the purpose of gaining, focus on the yolk. It's to gain.
To gain.
All right. So that's just a snippet of the verbs on how you go from fat writing down to skinny.
Got it. That's a great example. That's powerful. Now, that's also going to naturally be more persuasive because the reader's not getting lost.
Well, exactly. So
Got
it's
it.
boom, boom, boom. Make your point and get off the stage.
Yes. That's cool. Okay, so I get an idea what powerful means. And so, okay, now for the question that I love to always ask, how does powerful writing make businesses better? AKA, they make more cheddar, more money.
Because you're able to make a case for why your business deserves the contract bid.
Okay, so there's on the sales side, right?
Yep, the sales side. We talked about this a little bit. You put the company out there for marketing to attract those talented employees.
Yeah, that's huge.
Okay.
As a restaurant owner, I can tell you that has a big impact.
Well, it does. I mean, no one's going to want to come to a business that can't portray itself. You have to make the fish come and bite on the hook. You're the fisherman. They're the fish. You have to. The powerful writing is the hook.
Right. And by the way, so this then, I mean, doesn't this, would you say that this equally applies to verbal communication?
Oh, completely.
So what's the difference? These apply to when you're pen to paper writing.
Mm-hmm. And when you're giving presentations.
So then if you're going to recite what you've written, it obviously applies there. But if you learn these skills, what you want to do is just in regular conversation, use these skills as well.
Exactly. So you purge the the bad writing, the bad speaking habits.
Right.
You learn how to get to the point. You learn how not to use all those wasted words. Radio interview, TV interviews, outlining your message is another thing. People don't outline their thoughts. They just kind of start writing and so forth. I had an opportunity for a 4-minute television interview. It took me almost 4 hours to think my way through how am I going to spend those very few seconds? Okay, so I outlined my message, and then I spoke it verbally over and over and over again with a stopwatch running on my computer.
Wow.
To time it.
4 hours for 4 minutes.
Yep.
I must say, I have to say something right now. The most delightful email exchange I've ever had in my life was with you, Carla.
Why?
I don't know. Something about your writing made it so delightful to converse with you over email. You must have been using powerful writing on me.
I don't know. I just do what comes naturally. And
Yeah,
that's what I'm sharing with
that's what you're
everybody
teaching,
else.
right,
Doing
exactly.
what comes naturally. But all this stuff, it applies to your own performance review. It applies to taking care of subordinates. It helps you get promoted.
Right.
Okay.
Right. That'll get you more money. And then what about that's on the sales side. That's with your own employees.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other ways that people aren't thinking of? Like maybe like if you're trying to like work with, let's say you're in commercial real estate, and what's important is sometimes agents who have like, kind of like inside scoop or properties in their back pockets. You kind of want to be the person that they share those really, really good deals with. I wonder if writing could potentially help in business in a way where you build a relationship with your vendors or suppliers.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, this is the person I actually want to go to and help when I have good deals for this person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess.
I guess I'm not sure how the writing would play into that. Maybe it's in the communication with that vendor or supplier.
Yeah, another way you apply this thing, and this is something else people don't think about, is telling success stories. So, for example, when I was flying into Chicago yesterday, I sat next to a very nice gentleman who was the owner of a small private company that was in the transportation field. And nice guy. He was telling me about these really great successes. He's very proud of his 9-year-old company. I asked him, so have you taken these little success stories and spun them into a product and told that as a good news article like industrytoday.com or
Right.
whatever your trade journals are? Marketing good news is another real critical application of this. So, for example, going back to the 324th, when I
The battalion in Hawaii that you were oversaw.
Yep. So when I arrived, in addition to being the perpetual loser in the awards, the morale was non-existent. It was the unit simply did not like itself.
Right.
Long story short is, there are two leaves in any organization. One is the mission leaf, taking care of the mission. You have to water
Leaf
that.
like leaf on a tree. Okay, gotcha.
The other leaf is the people leaf. You have to take care of the people. And what I surmised is that for a very long time, no one had taken care of the people leaf, so that part of the unit had withered. So, again, this is going back to marketing good news. So I launched a series of first ever done programs, taking care of people, developing new programs for professional development for the senior airmen, a whole list of brand new initiatives to take care of the people. That's great. They loved it. They worked.
What's an example of one of... Say it again a little slower.
Okay. We established a 3-day training program, professional development program for senior airmen that did not exist anywhere in the Air Force.
And they taught something in that workshop that helped their skills.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right?
And one of those airmen would teach the other airmen, I assume.
The senior NCOs. I went to my senior enlisted folks and I was empowering them. I said, this is your job to help grow the younger generation enlisted troops. I want you all to help me develop, or I want to help you develop a 3-day professional development course where you all teach these younger kids.
Got it.
And we did first one ever in the Air Force at that point. And so there were several other programs like that. And the folks started sitting up and taking notice. This is good stuff. Now here comes the strategic communications part.
I was going to say, where's the writing?
All right. So the organization, Air Intelligence Agency, 16,000 people worldwide, had a monthly news magazine. Everybody read The Spokesman, the monthly news magazine. So I partnered with my public affairs sergeant, and for every one of these new programs that we started, we crafted a success story picture and article about each one of these new programs. They got published. They got worldwide publicity within the agency.
The 324th was getting some serious marketing.
And other units started implementing our programs.
No shit.
Okay, and so my guys, they see themselves getting all this wonderful press. They started standing taller.
Right.
And all of a sudden, this was a unit to be respected.
The one to beat.
And it blossomed. So
beautiful.
Marketing good news stories is another really critical way of how you can write powerfully and how you can use that.
You basically realized, okay, now that we got something cooking here that's good, let's leverage
exactly.
that.
Yep.
Let's leverage that and get it on paper for hundreds or thousands in this case to see it. When those thousands see it, who cares about the thousands seeing it? Great. If they benefit from it and they implement it, fantastic. But what you cared most about is I want my battalion to see
my squadron.
They're being highlighted.
Yep.
And they're going to be even more gangster. Wow, that's a great idea.
Marketing good news.
I love that. Marketing good news is another way. Who and where did you learn this all from?
I think a part
on
of it
your own?
I think a part of it is inherited.
Really?
Right?
Like genetically?
I think so. You often hear musical genes, Nat King Cole, Natalie King Cole,
right.
Liza Minnelli, Judy Garland. So I think some talent is just passed down. My mother was an amazing person. In addition to being the military wife of 30 years, they were married for 50. She was a couturier dress designer. She was a radio talk show host.
Really?
She had 2 newspaper columns. She wrote 2 books. She was a couturier seamstress.
She definitely was not saying can't in her life.
Oh God, no. And so I think I've got I received the writing genes somehow through her. And then with all of the writing I've done myself, a lot of this is developing and refining. So it was a gift, and I've just honed it over the years, and now I'm sharing it.
Wow. That's amazing. That really is amazing. That's amazing. Now, there's one other thing I noticed when I was doing a little homework on you. Mm-hmm. There's a story that I would have thought maybe I'd stumble across, like some sort of military situation where your life might have been at risk. And instead, what I found was your life was at risk, but not in a military situation. You were once choking.
Oh, bless my husband.
Could you share that story with us?
Yeah. We had just moved into to Omaha, Nebraska. I was tired. My kids were, I think, in 5th grade and 7th grade or something to that effect, and we were eating dinner. And
at home?
No, this was in a restaurant. And it's the only time I had a piece of steak that lodged in my throat, and it wasn't going anywhere.
Oh, no.
So I felt it, and I tried to take a sip of water, and nothing was happening. And so the husband is sitting directly across the table from me, so I pounded my fist to get his attention, on the table, and he saw, and he swept with his arms. He swept everything off the table, and he lunged across the table.
Oh, he didn't even get up and go around.
To me. No. He came over the table. I mean, swept everything out of the way and lunged over the table, and tried to give me the Heimlich maneuver. He tried once. He
got behind
twice.
you, right?
Yep, and it wasn't working. And so as the second, and it's at the same time he's screaming, "Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance!"
We're talking seconds. This is all seconds.
We're talking seconds. Ambulance would have been too late.
Yeah.
And so what's going through my mind is, please God, not now. I've got too much yet to do. Not now. And so he gave it that third huge heave-ho. He said, "I'm afraid I'll hurt your ribs." To hell with the ribs. So he gave it the third heave-ho, and the thing just projected out of the mouth.
Wow.
So yeah,
And so wait, in the moment when the seconds are passing and there's been 2 failed attempts, you actually start praying to God.
I did.
Wow.
I said, "Not now, please, not now." I just, I still had too much to give. Now is not the right time. Please, please. And then as soon as this was over, he went to the men's room. And actually, we haven't discussed this, but I'm pretty sure he probably threw up in the men's room, because it was almost over then.
Wow.
Almost over.
That's something else.
So I am now extraordinarily careful when I eat steak
Yeah,
or
about
anything
it, huh?
else.
Yeah, and I mean, for someone who's spent their whole life in the military, like I would have expected those types of life-threatening stories to come out in the military.
Yeah, nope.
But no, they're at a steakhouse in Omaha,
Simple
Nebraska.
dinner. I was tired. I was probably talking, not paying attention to chewing, and all it took was one small piece of steak, and it could have been all over.
What an amazing story. Did you write about that?
Nope.
You told it really well. I like that. That's really cool. Any other like miraculous things that may have come from writing that none of us would expect?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So you're good with the answers, right, Joel? No, that's just great.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, this you're looking at the watch. This may be the last story.
No, you're good.
So, I have a list of 10 reasons why a boss needs a staff who can write. Number 10 is work the occasional miracle. And here's my occasional miracle. When I arrived at NSA for my second tour, I was a group commander. I was responsible for 2,800 Air Force people assigned inside National Security Agency.
Wow.
All right. So when I arrived on that duty,
Again, you're the boss of 2,800 people, basically.
Administratively. So
Okay.
so NSA had them operationally, but I was responsible for them
I see.
administratively.
Okay.
Anyway, so when I arrived at that particular assignment, it was like August, and the Air Force birthday ball was in September. When I arrived, it was too late to impact the planning for that particular event.
It was already planned.
It was. So I went to this thing. It's my ball. I'm in charge of it. Gavel, gavel.
Oh, you were in charge of the ball?
Yeah, because I was the senior Air Force person.
Got it.
Okay.
But really, you're just carrying out whatever the previous person planned.
Yes.
Got it.
All right. So it was horrible. It was
Oh, the ball sucked?
awful. It did. I think 2,800 people, and I think we had 120 that attended this thing. And the birthday ball can be for the military member and the spouse. So
And
I
only
could have had
120 people
it
showed
was
up.
awful. And it was so friggin' boring. So as
no.
soon as that event was done, and we have a gavel, open gavel, close. As soon as I hit that gavel close, I swore to everybody who was listening, next year's going to be different. Next year's my event. We're going to have max capacity and a waiting list for tickets should there
Wow.
ever. Okay, big boast.
Waiting list for
What
tickets.
did you
I love
have to
that.
do this? The gold and the brass ring I needed was a hell of a keynote speaker. That's the draw.
Yeah.
So who can I get? Well, an Air Force group captain, if you think about a regular triangle, pointy end up, the wide at the bottom.
Sure.
All right, so I'm at the bottom of this triangle now. I'm a group commander, which is nice, but I'm Air Force group commander. Who did I want to get to be the speaker? I wanted the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Isn't that a huge... he reports to the president, right?
That's the number one
Or
military...
he or she reports to the president.
Yep, the number one military person in the whole United States.
More than the Secretary of Defense?
That's the civilian person. This is the military person,
Ah.
okay? So I want to shoot for the stars, as my mom always said. I wanted to go for the top.
Wow.
So the first thing I did is I went to General Hayden. Michael Hayden was the director of NSA at that point. I asked his permission to do this because, I'm going nosebleed level.
Right.
And he said, Carla, go for it.
No shit.
Okay. Oh, yeah. He's
Hayden.
wonderful.
Super supportive.
So now here comes the writing. Work the occasional miracle. And I word sculpted the hell out of this letter. One page. And I explained to General Shelton that...
That's his name, General Shelton?
General Shelton was the 4-star chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. My message to him was, I have a problem. I have zero Air Force esprit de corps right now.
Esprit de corps.
Esprit de corps.
What does that mean?
It means Air Force identity. Rah, rah, rah.
Gotcha.
Okay, like football
Enthusiasm,
fans. Enthusiasm,
right.
identification, morale, I have none because it's all been subverted in a good way. You go into NSA. I love NSA, but it's more of a civilian organization. And so you go in there, you do your job, and you lose the Air Force touch. So, dear General Shelton, I need to throw a hell of a birthday ball. I need you to come be the guest speaker so I can infuse Air Force back into my unit. So that was the story. Can you please come be my guest speaker? So I word sculpted that into slightly better language.
Sure.
And then I encased that letter in camouflage netting, So I rolled it in a chunk of camouflage net.
So now we're moving beyond just writing.
We are. We're into
And
marketing
art.
and strategizing,
Yes,
okay?
yes,
and then
yes.
my 2-year, second grade daughter the day before brought a stick she found under a tree and had taped a little American flag to it. So I crammed that into the camouflage netting. And that is what was delivered to General Shelton.
How did you get it to get to him?
I had a friend who worked in his front office.
Get out of here.
All right.
Working miracles, baby.
Exactly. And you
And
know
so
what?
that friend took it right to his desk.
Yep, and handed the camouflage net with the letter embedded and the flag, and he came.
You are gangster.
I got General Shelton as the guest speaker. I had 600 people attending that birthday ball. And
600.
600. It was at the Marriott up near Fort Meade someplace. It was
Sure.
max capacity, and there was a waiting list to get in. And
A
then I
waiting
even
list.
made it more fun. It wasn't the normal surprise, right? It wasn't
Okay.
the normal birthday ball. I had those little balsa wood airplanes at every table.
Nice.
And I
Nice
had
touch.
I had foam missiles that you could launch using rubber bands. So we're throwing airplanes and we're doing missiles all night long in this mess dress. And General Shelton had a blast.
Did he really?
He had a
He didn't poo-poo
ball.
all the
Oh, God, no, he
slingshots
loved it.
and.
Nope.
And so did you speak to him about the writing and the camouflage bit?
No,
Afterwards?
but I got a wonderful thank you note from him, which
You
is
did.
framed and it's in my family room, on my family room wall. And he acknowledges the very imaginative invitation and
Nice.
expressed gratitude for the opportunity to
Yes.
come speak. And I'm thinking, oh my God, because you think how many world events could have stopped him from
Right.
coming, even though he accepted, something could have happened.
Could come up, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
so,
Urgently.
I mean, I didn't believe until his 6-foot frame walked through that door that, oh
Amazing.
my God, he's here.
Amazing.
So that wouldn't have happened if I couldn't have written a powerful story,
Right,
powerful
right,
message,
right.
powerful story, and strategizing how to make it happen.
Amazing.
Anyway,
Are you open or willing, or do you publicly share your political views?
no.
You prefer not?
No.
Okay. I'll respect that.
Yep.
Do you support Trump? I got to push it. Come on. How would you answer that question?
How would I answer that question? I'm going to dodge it.
Dodger. I get it. I feel
What
you.
I will say, though, to everybody is get out there and vote.
Boom.
One way or the other, get
Boom.
out there and vote. This is a democracy, and we have to protect it by voting.
Real quick, we got to close up here, but
Yep.
the thank you note that General Shelton sent to you, I suppose was handwritten,
No, it was typed.
typed. Is that part of powerful writing and those notes?
Thank you notes. Okay, thank you notes for job interviews. That has been the latest thing that I've been asked to write about. Industry Today, I've done a bunch of articles now that have been published on that topic. So I'm not going to go into the what do you put into it, but how do you write it? You've got 3 choices: a typed letter, email, or a handwritten note. I recommend one vehicle using all 3. Now, here's the deal. The message itself, I say a typed letter on good quality paper, because one that conveys that you've put more thought into a typed letter than one usually associates with just an email.
Right.
You put the personal touch, the handwritten part. You can write a quick thought in the corner, top, bottom, somewhere in the corner.
On that typed letter.
Yep, on the
Okay.
typed letter. You know, Mr. So I really, really appreciate. I thank you very much. But
That's
that adds
2 out of 3.
That adds that personal touch. And the
Right.
3 out of 3 is you email a notification to the recipient saying, "I just wanted to let you know I've emailed you. I've mailed you a thank you note. You should receive it in a couple of days."
Nice.
Now, why do I not do only an email? Because first of all, it's just another email. We are all killed with emails in the embassy. It's just another one.
Yeah.
2, it might not actually reach the recipient, spammed out,
Yeah.
gets lost in all of the shuffle. And 3, it's just another email.
Yeah, I get that. Wow, that is so powerful.
So
Carla Bass, can I get another fist bump?
you betcha.
Where again, plug yourself, please. Where again can people learn more about you and buy your book?
Okay, www.writetoinfluence.net.
.net.
All about me.net. Writetoinfluence.net. About me, about my workshops. I love doing workshops. I would love to do more. So
People can book you for their workshops.
they
Fantastic.
can. Anywhere from 1 hour to 2 full days. And I tailor it to what those clients need. I taught several for the U.S. Geological Survey. So, I just adore doing this stuff. And the workshops are interactive. It's just like you and I are talking.
Yes.
It's back
Just
and
like
forth and
that?
fun. Yep. It's not, I'm going to talk to you for 2 days about writing.
And what about an email address?
Carla at writetoinfluence.net.
Carla, C-A-R-L-A, at
writetoinfluence.net.
writetoinfluence.net. Boom.
And the book is on Amazon, so forth. Second edition. Second edition's got 70 more pages
Nice.
with all of the information from all the workshops I've been teaching. And thank you for this opportunity.
You're the best, Carla.
I had a blast.
This is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on.
Huzzah.
That's right. And Dolder,
Yes.
we did another episode.
Awesome. Got
Thank
another
you.
one in the books.
That's right, brother. Thank y'all for listening. Peace.
Peace out.